As we've been discussing, the fallout from the fall economic statement and the resignation of Finance Minister Chrystia Freeland, let's get a small business perspective now. Joining us is Dan Kelly, President of the Canadian Federation of Independent Business. Thanks for being with us, Dan. How are you, sir?
Good to be with you.
So what's your viewpoint on, again, the chaos and dysfunction coming out of Ottawa yesterday, and then ultimately the fall economic statement being delivered? And as rumored and as there were some rumblings, the deficit much larger than expected.
Yeah, look, it was a bizarre day. Certainly probably the weirdest in my 30+ years at CFIB.
Yeah, that's saying a lot.
My flight was landing to go into the budget lockup, and of course, like many, basically sidelined for the entire day as Ottawa tried to sort out what the heck was happening. They pulled it together. Obviously, we have a new finance minister, and I look forward to talking to him about some of these issues. But this is not good. Very, very unhelpful to have this political uncertainty happening at the same time as so much political uncertainty in the U.S. As Goldie rightly said, that is the enemy of business progress, to have important and critical roles like the Ministry of Finance in turmoil. Lots of the measures, questions about whether they will actually see the light of day at this stage. I will add that the capital gains changes, which I have a bunch of scar tissue on, the legislation to put that in place from the 2024, I think the April budget, has not even been introduced in the House of Commons yet. So, I mean, there are so many balls in the air in Ottawa, it is hard to figure anything out.
What are your members saying to you amid all of this?
Great worry about where things are going, where things will land, and that's not helping right now. We have had, just over the last couple of weeks, massive uncertainty just with respect to public policy for small business owners. We were hearing for weeks about the pressures of the Canada Post strike. That was costing businesses $100 million a day in losses and increased costs. That's probably going to be $2 billion by the time the Canada Post is back to normal. On top of that, the GST, HST headache, this has been a nightmare for small retailers to put into place. Ottawa wasn't even able to give us a straight answer as to whether it was mandatory to do this or not until late last week. Look, everything is basically on fire in Ottawa, and that doesn't help.
Are you encouraged at least that Dominic LeBlanc is the interim finance minister?
Look, he seems like a good choice, somebody that has been around for a while, kind of knows how things happen. I look forward to chatting with him soon. But boy, are there some big files to sort through over the next little while. We've got a carbon tax increase of 19% slated for April the 1st. The capital gains stuff that is still, as I said, completely uncertain as to whether it's going to make progress. There were a few things in the fall economic statement that were of interest. One of them for my members was some potential regulation of payment processors. You'll remember that the government announced with our support some reductions in Visa and MasterCard fees last year. Those have taken place, but some players like Stripe have not passed on the savings to small business owners. In the bizarre world that we live in, Mark Carney, who was rumored until yesterday to be the new finance minister, is on the board of Stripe, and that is the company that Ottawa is trying to go after. So it's a weird world we're living in.
I'm sure, Dan, you noticed that your counterpart organization in the U.S., the National Federation of Independent Business, came out with a confidence number the other day that just shot much higher post-U.S. election. Well, would any of that sort of trickle into Canada in terms of confidence among some of your members?
I don't know. I mean, we work closely with the NFIB, but that organization has some strong connections to the Republican Party. Mine is a nonpartisan organization in Canada. I think, though, that some of the confidence is as a result of some of the tariffs that are there, and that doesn't bode well for Canada. So we're working with our U.S. counterparts to obviously make sure that they know just how critical how critical a role Canada and Canadian SMEs play that benefit both the U.S. marketplace and obviously for them to us.
Dan, you said everything's kind of on fire right now. So how do we douse the flames, and how does your group move forward and deal with potential tariffs and get Canada's house in order?
Look, it's slow and steady work. We've got to make sure that we get some of these things across the finish line, that we have the ability to plan for the future, as opposed to simply just waiting for things to burst into flames. And that, unfortunately, is what's been happening in Ottawa for far too long. Is that the only time Ottawa takes any action is when it's at the emergency stage. I worry that on the Canada-U.S. relationship side, that's what's happening. This feels very different than the earlier rounds of NAFTA renegotiations, where there was a real Team Canada approach between the federal government, provinces, the business community, labor unions. Everybody seemed to be singing from the same song sheet. That just doesn't feel like the case right now. And I worry that the federal leadership is just not there to make that happen. Now, it was a good thing that the Prime Minister did see President Trump in Mar-a-Lago, and it was good also that Dominic LeBlanc was his dance partner at that event.
Right.
That may help us in the days ahead.
All right. Well, thank you very much for your time and insights today, Dan.
Anytime.
Dan Kelly, President of the Canadian Federation of Independent Business.